Hello, this is Scott Baceno from telecoms.com at the Ovum Digital Futures Event 2018. I'm talking to Simon Thompson from BT. So Simon, I know you've just been on a discussion panel that I was watching earlier, although I've got to admit I only had half an ear on it because I was writing a story at the same time. But why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about what you do at BT?
I'm a research scientist. I work for BT Research at our labs in Martlesham Heath in Suffolk, sunny Suffolk. My teams look at how to apply advanced data processing methods, so big data technology and AI, machine learning, advanced statistical methods to the business problems that BT has, and that's operational business problems through to service provision like nuisance calling, blocking, scam detection, and also especially broadband diagnostics, getting more value out of the network, making it more performant, easier to deal with, and getting high utilization for it too.
So quite a lot of, as is often the way when we talk about technology, quite a lot of buzzwords and acronyms in there. But two jump out at me that seem to be core to what you do, which is big data and AI. So they've both been around as concepts, but part of your work and part of growing trend seems to be the sort of Venn diagrams overlapping there, where AI is increasingly used in the processing of big data. Can you talk us a bit more through that?
Well, I think we've always been interested in using AI because it offers a way of doing things that you otherwise couldn't do, you couldn't afford. What big data technology has done is it's made it much cheaper to field AI techniques because we've got an infrastructure now which can be economically delivered to support AI processors. That coincides with a wave of digitization in telcos and in consumers' lives too. So there are a lot more digital interfaces where AI can make a difference and can actually action something and change something, which of course brings its own challenges as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not going to labour the point because in an interview I did previously, I banged on about my dystopian fears about AI.
Well, that's an important thing because I think people have got to trust AI. They've got to understand what it's doing for them. What we can't have is a situation where people's lives are run by algorithms. That's unfair, and it takes people's rights away. People have a right to choice and a right to being able to make meaningful decisions in their lives. And so one key focus for us is obviously transparency, conformance to GDPR and so on, but also to build the systems and the practices, the professionalism, which means that we can account for what all our AI systems are doing, especially when we scale them, when we go from having a handful of AI systems to having hundreds or thousands of them operating across our business.
Yeah, and when you introduce machine learning, I mean, one of the big wake-up calls, having said I'm not going to labour it, I will now. For the more dystopian view of AI was when I think it was Google. They made a computer that beat a Go grandmaster.
And
then they made another computer that beat that computer. And the new computer, they didn't even teach the rules of Go. It just did it through
amazing
learning.
Research.
And so when computers can start autonomously learning, that gets a bit creepy for me.
But it's a game, you know. Alpha Zero, which is the breakthrough program, and the people at DeepMind, you know, I am in absolute awe of their achievement, but it is still a closed world game with defined boundaries, and what they were able to do with Alpha Zero was to take it and learn some other games like chess and other games as well, board games, but they were within the parameters of that game. And the world we live in is open, and all sorts of things happen all the time. And most days, you know, you'll have it yourself. Most days are similar to the yesterday, and you cope very well. You know, you're not particularly challenged by that. But every so often, a situation will pop up in your life which is almost completely unlike anything you've seen before. So you might have an accident. You know, you could come in and find your bank account's empty, whatever it is that's surprising to you. Right, okay, yes, me too. But the point is that that's when your resources as a human, your intelligence, is called on. And that's a situation where Alpha Zero would run into trouble, because what we would do is we'd take it out of the Go world, and let's say we expanded the board by 2 extra squares. Well, AlphaZero would not cope unless we retrained it to make a new AlphaZero, right? And there's a big gap here. In the world of AI, we can cope with normal situations because we've got the data, we've got the engineering experience, but the value, the real valuable situations are those unusual corner cases. And we're not going to have full solutions by just being able to do 99% of the job. I'm sure you've had it where somebody's come to you and said, I finished a job, I finished editing or something, and you say, right, can I have it? And they say, well, not quite yet.
Yeah.
And it's 99% done, boss, which means it's not done, right? And the same's true for AI systems. Yeah.
And okay, no, that's really interesting. And you talked about algorithms earlier and the imperfections therein. And we're all familiar with that. Companies like Amazon and Google are supposed to be so omniscient with their algorithms, but the only time I get an advert pushed to me from Amazon is for something I've already bought. It just seems that their algorithms, I'm sure they'll get the hang of it, but it seems their algorithms are pretty far from omniscient.
My poor dear old dad, who sadly passed away, I had to buy some trousers with expandable waists for him, and that advert followed me around the web for about 6 months.
Yes.
And everywhere I went, Amazon was trying to sell me
cookie stalker
trousers with an elasticated waist, which I found very trying.
I know, you've got to watch out what you search for, God knows.
Exactly, well, exactly. So this is the problem. I mean, the perception and the reality are quite distant.
Yeah.
Amazon faces problem, it's called the sparse data problem. They sell hundreds of thousands of products. In some cases, because you bought one product, does probably mean you'd like another product.
Yep. There's a certainly increased likelihood.
So I had a good example. I put the new roof on the shed over the summer, and they advertised some very nice bolts with a rubber seal on them to go with that, with the corrugated sheets, and it was brilliant, okay? But almost always, what the algorithm seems to do with me is fall back on, you must be interested in the thing that you recently bought,
so you're
or
a
version
man,
of it. Oh yes, I'm a shed man. Yes.
No, I'm saying that's
much
what the
to my wife's fury, yes, and Amazon's fury
is
too.
To sort of pigeonhole you. You go, this bloke's obsessed
a man with a shed.
Yes,
yes, that's my demographic. Right. There we are.
Okay, that's all really interesting. I want to move on to the panel that you were part of. So, like I said, I listened to it, but I did allow myself to be distracted by my day job. But you were talking about stuff that's in a similar ballpark to what we were just talking about now, AI, big data, and this seems to be the general theme of this OVM event. Is this future technologies? We're talking about sort of future user interfaces. Can you give us a sense of anything from that panel discussion that really jumped out at you?
I think the keenness of everybody to engage with the area, the way that there are obviously a lot of mature initiatives where people are really doing things, contrasting it to 5 years ago, I think that a lot of the industry has really picked up AI and is using it to make an impact on customers' lives. I think a lot of the initiatives will require development, there will be a lot of learning from it. I think it's very important for the industry to make sure we can navigate to get over the trough of disillusionment that may well come.
And
paranoia. And I think we need to put in place the infrastructure to deal with that now. We need to be open and realistic about what we're doing. But it is the case, it's just a business fact. There is a lot of value on the table to people who can digitize properly, who can make the data available, and then who can build a capability to responsibly and effectively use the technologies which we've got. So steer clear of the science fiction, focus on the value, help customers, don't try and take their choices or automate things, but look to help them in situations where we can't help them at the minute. So great example, late at night, we can't afford to have the manning levels to support every customer challenge and question at that time of night. So we get these corner case problems come in. The specialist lines might be closed. The specialist groups might not be available. It's great to be able to provide some sort of support in that situation, which might help out a minority of those customers get the solution to them, because otherwise you're not doing anything for them. Try and help them with that. So that's fine in that situation. What we don't want to be doing is deploying that technology to help a minority of our customers in a normal situation. We want to have a complete solution in that case. Yeah.
And just to finish off, I mean, I know this isn't necessarily your day job, but you do work for a telecoms company. One thing that you largely can't do without AI, it seems, is 5G.
Yes, I think that's going to be true in my opinion. So, that's just an opinion, but
well, it's an opinion, but it seems to be it's an opinion that I can verify anecdotally. And so, if you could just sort of finish off by giving us some sense of how the worlds of AI and 5G overlap.
What I understand about 5G networks is that they have a lot more degrees of freedom of control and configuration than previous networks, and there's a lot more complexity in those networks, and so when we come to design them, we need to be using AI, or at least very advanced data processing, maybe somewhere on the scale between AI and advanced algorithms, optimization algorithms, to design those networks to get the right CapEx yield from them and deliver the right services. But then when we've got those networks, we've got to configure them, and the configuration is complex. And we need to make sure that we're getting the most utilization we can out of our major investment by configuring them right. And I think we need to be able to do that in the face of data as to how users are using them as networks. We need to be adaptive to that, so as the network use cases change, as more people come into the network, we need to be able to respond to that. So not stick with the day one configuration for 6 months. You know, when suddenly we get a big uptake of the most fashionable new 5G handset, we need to be quickly adapting to provide the service that fits that new adoption wave. We don't want to disappoint. So in that case, you know, to deal with this big complexity, to deal with this adaptivity, we will be using AI algorithms, and the vendors are building out those, and we're certainly investigating those now as part of our 5G work at BT.
In that sense, it feels like just the next era in sort of computing. For example, like when computing first started up in the 70s, it was about being able to do calculations that human beings either couldn't do or at far greater speed. And now AI seems to be moving more into the decision-making side of things. And again, you know, for a really complex environment, human beings just can't possibly make decisions at the speed that they need to without the help of those sorts of things. Is that how you see it?
I see it along those lines. I see the need to enable humans to focus on the important decisions. I see the need to take the routine dross out of people's work. We get a lot of boring things at work that you have to do. It's great if some automation can come and take that away from you in an effective way.
Free you up for other stuff.
You know, how much time, it drives me mad, how much time do I spend trying to schedule meetings? And you know, if we could find a way of doing that effectively and automatically, that would be brilliant. Of course, where we get into trouble is when we try and devise that kind of thing, and it has an inhumane result, and you get pushed into doing meetings you don't want to do at times you can't do. You know, so we've got a big opportunity, I think, to make people's work lives more creative, more meaningful, and make people's work more impactful. Okay, I think it will allow people to add more value rather than just taking up their time doing nonsense. And I really hope that it's going to help us to avoid more risk, more mistakes, because instead of people worrying about their expenses, they'll be able to focus on the big issues.
Oh, don't get me started on expense systems.
Well, there we are. That's a common pain for everyone.
Brilliant.
And, okay, great to talk to you, Scott.
You too. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Cheers.
Cheers.